What if I told you that the absolute best way to prove you are completely innocent of a crime is to refuse to talk to the police at all? It sounds totally backward, right? I mean, we're all taught that if you have nothing to hide, you have absolutely nothing to fear. But historically and scientifically speaking, that is a massive, dangerous lie. Welcome to the crazy, messed up, true story of the Fifth Amendment. Today we're diving deep into the law, the history, and the actual neuroscience of self-incrimination. Why do we even have a Fifth Amendment? Is the right to remain silent really just a legal loophole for criminals like every TV cop show wants you to believe? Or is there a terrifying, scientifically proven reason the Founding Fathers basically begged you to keep your mouth shut? So, to really understand why we have the Fifth Amendment, we kind of have to jump in a time machine and go back to 17th century England. It wasn't a great time to be alive, honestly. Back then, they had this thing called the Star Chamber. Sounds like a cool sci-fi thing, right? Like something out of Star Wars? Yeah, no. It was basically a secret court where the king's buddies could drag you in and force you to take what they called the ex officio oath. Basically, you had to swear to tell the truth before they even told you what you were accused of. It was totally rigged. If you refused to take the oath, you were guilty of contempt, and they'd torture you. If you took the oath and lied, you were guilty of perjury. And if you took the oath and told the truth, well, you just confessed, so you were going to prison. It was a massive catch-22. But then along comes this guy named John Lilburne in 1637. He was this incredibly stubborn, super principled dude they called Freeborn John. They drag him into the Star Chamber for supposedly smuggling illegal books, and they tell him to take the oath, and John just goes, nope. He argued that no man's conscience should be forced to betray himself. So they whipped him through the streets of London, tied him to a pillory, and gagged him. But the public loved it. It sparked this massive movement against forced self-incrimination, which eventually crossed the ocean with the Puritans. Fast forward to America, and James Madison is drafting the Bill of Rights. He remembers what happened to guys like Freeborn John. He realizes that a government that can force you to talk is a government that has totally unchecked power. So he writes in the Fifth Amendment, "Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself." Boom, mic drop. But here's the thing, the founders didn't just understand tyranny. Without even knowing it, they actually understood human psychology. Before we get into the crazy brain science behind this, let me ask you guys a quick question. Have you ever been super nervous, like in a job interview or arguing with your partner, and you just blurted out something totally stupid or completely wrong, like your brain just short-circuited? Drop your most embarrassing brain freeze moment in the comments below. I'll be reading them. Okay, let's talk about the science of why you, an innocent person, might actually confess to a crime you absolutely did not commit. Because it happens all the time. According to the Innocence Project, in cases where DNA evidence eventually exonerated someone, nearly 30% of those innocent people had given a false confession. How? Why would you admit to murder if you were just sitting at home eating pizza? It all comes down to neuroscience. When you are sitting in a police interrogation room, your brain registers that as a massive existential threat. Your amygdala, the little alarm bell in your brain, starts screaming. Your body gets flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. You go into full fight or flight mode. Now, when this happens, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logical thinking, planning, and long-term consequences, basically shuts down. It goes offline. Your brain isn't thinking, how will this affect my trial in 6 months? Your brain is literally just thinking, how do I escape this room right now? And police are legally allowed to use psychological tactics that exploit this panic. The most famous is the Reid technique. It involves isolation, maximization, which means exaggerating the evidence against you. Yes, cops are legally allowed to lie, and minimization, where they offer moral justification, like just tell us so we can all go home. Couple that with the fact that human memory is incredibly malleable. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist, has proven through decades of research that if an authority figure suggests a narrative to you forcefully enough while you are under extreme stress, your brain will actually try to fabricate memories to fill in the gaps. You will start to believe you did it. So you have a terrified suspect. That is why innocent people confess, and that is the exact scientific reason the Fifth Amendment is so crucial. It acts as an emergency brake for your panicked brain. Which brings us to the craziest irony in modern legal history, Ernesto Miranda. You know how cops on TV always say, "You have the right to remain silent." Those are your Miranda rights. Well, in 1963, Ernesto Miranda was arrested for a terrible crime. He confessed after 2 hours of interrogation, but his lawyers appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, arguing that because the police didn't explicitly remind him of his Fifth Amendment right, the confession was invalid. The Supreme Court agreed. But here's the wild part. Ernesto Miranda was retried without the confession, and he was still convicted. He went to prison, got paroled, and then in 1976, he got into a bar fight and was fatally stabbed. The police caught the guy who stabbed him, and guess what? They read that suspect his Miranda rights. The suspect chose to use them, kept his mouth shut, and ended up getting away with it due to a lack of evidence. The guy who gave us the right to remain silent was killed by a guy who successfully used the right to remain silent. The big takeaway? The Fifth Amendment is not just a shield for the guilty. History proves it was designed to stop tyrannical governments, and modern neuroscience proves it's the ultimate cognitive safety valve for the innocent. The smartest thing you can ever do is politely ask for a lawyer and literally say nothing else. But what happens when technology gets so advanced that they can legally put a helmet on you and just read your memories directly out of your visual cortex? We'll be diving into that terrifying future in the next video right over here. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please smash that like button. Don't forget to leave a comment with your worst brain freeze moment. Share and hit subscribe. Stay safe, stay smart, and remember, sometimes the best thing to say is absolutely nothing. See ya!